At Napa, we're the pros that know how to make your business our business. Pros everywhere you need us, with every part you need. From brake pads to stock your shop in Orange County, California,
Brake pads.
to oil filters for your fleet in Orange County, Florida. It's why we built a nationwide network of exceptional service, all driven by one mission: to keep businesses big, small, and everything in between moving full speed ahead.
Never know how.
Welcome back to Creepcast.
How you guys doing today? Today we are doing the famous creepypasta run. We've been on a very, very big r/no sleep kick. And the problem with doing normal creepypasta is that a lot of them are very, very short. And if we only did one and we focused on one, some of these podcasts would be 3 minutes long. I mean, it would be a very quick episode. So today we're going to run through probably almost try to get all of the key big old creepypastas, and we're just putting them all into a grab bag here for you, and we're just going to run through every single one of them. So some of these you probably have definitely heard, read, or whatever, but once again, as always, I have not read any of these classics. All right, we've touched on some of them. Like I'm looking at, we're also on creepypasta.com. We're looking at some of them here, and I see like 1999 is at the top of creepypasta.com. We've read that. We tried reading Bedtime before. It was boring as hell. I think that's whenever me and Isaiah were in person, we tried reading it, etc.
It was.
And then we've read Ben Drowned. So there's some in here that we've read already, but I see one at the top here that I feel like I've heard of before called Candle Cove that I believe we're going to start with today. So some of these are ranging from, it says less than a minute, and I think the longest we'll ever read is like 10 minutes. So it's gonna be a lot of them. So buckle in. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
It's going to be a bumpy ride. So what we're doing here is Hunter, frankly, has it too good, right? Like this guy listens to some of the best selected off of No Sleep. He listens to like these 2-hour-long things that are eventually adapted into books, and he hasn't put up with what I've put up with, what a lot of us have. These like 5-minute horror stories that would happen once in like 2016, and we had to make those last for months until something else came out. Okay,
I really have been eating nothing but prime rib or whatever, and then now I go to like my buddy's house.
I'm taking you to the gas station.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm getting a filet mignon from 7-Eleven. That's how that, and I need that. I need to have that perspective.
And but it's been there 2 weeks, but they reheated it on like the hot dog roller racks for a bit, so it kind of looks fresh from a distance. But then you get in the car and you open the bag, and it's like, that was a bad move.
Yeah,
I should have done that. Yeah. So.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
That's what we're gonna do.
I've heard of these things.
To hurt him more, I think Candle Cove's gonna be probably the longest one we're going to read. I want to take him through a lot of the micro horror instances, the things that I know about and you know about, but he doesn't know about.
Sure.
I have a plan here to make this bad for him, and I can't wait.
So are we start? Do you want to start with the long one to kind of like?
Let's start with Candle Cove.
I've heard Candle Cove is supposed to be pretty good.
Candle Cove is different. Candle Cove's different than the others. So we're gonna go through Herobrine. We're gonna go through Lavender Town Syndrome. We're gonna go through some of the bangers.
As long as they're not all, I just don't want to do. I hate video game shit. Like Lavender Town, that sounds cool. I don't know what the fuck that is.
That's a shame.
Huh?
That's a shame because you're not picking today.
Okay. All I know is I saw there was like Sonic XEX, and then I was like, oh, Suicide Mouse. And you're like, that's Mickey Mouse or whatever. And I was like, oh. So we'll see.
You know Sonic XEX. We did it at the live.
No, I know that for sure. I know that there's Sonic.
Yeah,
That's why when I was scrolling through, I was like, oh god. And I just because it's not like we've never talked about some of these before in the past. Mostly in like passing. Like just being like, oh, yeah, there was a lot of like video game stuff because we did Sonic XEX. What was the? I feel like we did another video game one. Didn't we do another video game one?
It's about Legend of Zelda.
It was the Legend of Zelda. That's what it was. So yeah, when we were, I think even then we were talking about how it was just like, oh yeah, insert good. Oh god.
You'll never forget about me, Hunter.
I almost did. I feel like that's why my life has been so much better lately, is because that was out of the mental cortex.
Tiffany, it's me.
I'm very excited though. I'm excited to. I think that this is going to be a fun experience. You know what's fun about an episode like this too? I was just thinking about. You know how many people that are also that maybe got into creepypasta stuff because of the show they're going to go in blind just like me, and then there's tons of seasoned veterans readers who their eyes have glazed over multiple times, and they're twiddling their fingers probably and
It's us. That's
foaming
me
at the
and you.
mouth. Yes,
It's
exactly.
Me and you, don't forget it. Burr, 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 burr. We're going to destroy them, just crush them. I can't wait.
Candle Cove. Let's start
Candle
off.
Cove.
Also, too, just want to say, as always, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, the audio platforms. Give us a nice rating there. We appreciate you. If you appreciate this show, it means a lot to us. And also, soon, probably in the next month or two, we should be having more Creepcast merch, and there's some sick designs that I'm really stoked for you guys to see. So hold out for that, but just know it's coming. So get ready.
I'm excited. So, with
Look
that,
at them
let
all.
us
Look how
begin.
pretty they all are.
I'm brittle and I'm old.
And I don't go to the doctor as much as I should. And I don't want to deal with an appointment and insurance and blah, 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 blah. It's a freak. It's super easy. Go to Dr. Doc.
1971 or 1972, anywhere. It was overflow entries from. So our beginning is entries from a net nostalgia forum about local television shows. The first entry comes from SkyShell33. The subject is Candle Cove Local Kids Show, and SkyShell asks, "Does anyone remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and I must have been 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was on a local station around 1971 or 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 p.m.
I'm Mike Painter, 65, responding to the subject of the post above. It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland and was 9 years old in 1972. Candle Cove was it about pirates? I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl.
SkyShell responds, "Yes, okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls. Real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll. Looked like an antique that didn't belong on the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF, though."
Jaron 2005 says, "Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what show you mean, SkyShell. I think Candle Cove ran only for a couple months in 71, not 72. I was 12 and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was Channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me switch to it after the news. Let me see what I remember. It took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. The pirate ship was called the Laughing Stock, and the pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was a Calliope music constantly playing. Don't remember the girl's name, Janice or Jade or something. I think it was Janice."
SkyShell replies to that and says, "Thank you, Jaron. Memories flooded back when you mentioned Laughing Stock and Channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship was a wooden smiling face, the lower jaw submerged. It looked like it was swallowing the sea, and it had that awful Ed Wynn voice and laugh. I especially remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked."
Mike responds again and says, "I remember it now too. Do you remember this part, SkyShell?
You have to go inside.
And SkyShell replies to that and says, Mike, I got a chill reading that. Yes, I remember. That's what the ship always told Percy when there's a spooky place he had to go in, like a cave or a dark room where the treasure was. And the camera would push in on Laughing Stock's face with each pause. You have to go inside. With his two eyes askew and that flopping foam jaw and the fishing line that opened and closed it. It just looked so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain. He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above really tall, narrow teeth.
I just noticed that the guy's name is Kevin Hart.
Yes, this person's name is Kevin Hart. Could be the Kevin Hart. We don't
How
know.
do we know it's not the professional, the huge stand-up comedian Kevin Hart? We'll never know.
I think you should do that voice.
I am not. I am not
think you
going
should.
to.
I don't know what could possibly.
I think that's.
go wrong
you know
in
what? I
that
think that I
scenario.
just. I honestly no. I'm joking. I honestly thought that the villain was Pirate Percy. I was about 5 when this show was on.
Nightmare fuel. Jaren says, that wasn't the villain. The puppet with the mustache? That was the villain's sidekick. Horace Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that meant he only had one eye. But yeah, the villain was another marionette, the Skin Taker. What the fuck? The Skin Taker. I can't believe what they let us watch back then. Holy hell, that just turned up to 11. Everyone's like, yeah, Pirate Percy, Horace Horrible. Nah, it was the Skin Taker.
The Skin Taker, that's what you're forgetting.
Oh, yeah, that is what I'm forgetting, huh? I forgot about the Skin Taker.
That was the
naked
missing
man.
clue for the series, the Skin Taker.
Skin Taker, the man who was completely naked on screens trying to extend his foreskin. Yeah, so Kevin Hart again says, Jesus H. Christ, the Skin Taker. Good God. What kind of kids show were we watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the Skin Taker showed up. He just descended out of nowhere on his strings, just a dirty skeleton wearing that brown top hat and cape, and his glass eyes that were too big for his skull. Christ almighty.
It just goes straight from like 0
Oh, yeah. Well, at least they grounded it back down. You know what I like? They grounded it back down with him being like, oh, it was a skeleton with a cape and hat, whatever. So it's still in the vein of this children's show. It's not like it's some,
It's a little too dark thematically, but you can still
I mean, don't be wrong. Yeah,
think of it as a children's show.
Yeah, I mean, if it was,
It makes you ask the question like, why did they let kids watch this?
Yeah.
But it doesn't break it out of like, okay, we weren't watching a kid show yet. It's just like, why would this be in a kid show?
I really hope that it wasn't. They didn't even go into it, and people were just like, yeah, but that wasn't the villain. It was Cyanide Sydney.
Not everyone's life runs in straight lines. At Sophia, we get that. Our flex.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Cyanide Sydney. But she wasn't. She wasn't the main villain. It was Al Qaeda Al. You're like, no, yeah, Al Qaeda Al. Ooh, he was scary. But it just keeps going and going.
That wasn't the villain. It was Nazi Nigel.
It was a Nazi. It was Nazi Nigel.
Just progressively more.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are. I can see how you could get that wrong, but actually, the main villain was Foreskin Frank.
It's like, guys, that wasn't the villain. It was Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah. And at the end of the deal, the show was run by Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yep.
That's the way it would end. I like to think that all the puppets are just foreskin references, where it's just like, Jesus Christ.
I bet you would, wouldn't you?
Well, I just mean, can you imagine people being
sure.
like, okay, fine, never mind.
No, Hunter. How would I imagine people being like?
I was just gonna say that wouldn't it be fucking crazy? Wouldn't it be the fucking craziest fucking thing if all the puppets were foreskin related, and then at the end, Isaiah, it turns out that all the puppets were made out of kids' foreskins. He was a disgruntled man who was clipped when he was younger.
I see. Like they took it from me kind of attitude about it. You
Yeah.
think a lot about children's foreskins.
And then you get the classic pedophilia kind of angle that all these things have, right?
Yes, yeah. They always tie
gotta
back into
have that.
yeah. Stranger danger kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. If the creepypasta doesn't have it, then I feel like people got laughed off the internet.
Yeah, so somewhere in the list of like actual villains, it's like, oh, pedophile Pete. Like he's a
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
They're all essentially the same character. They're just made of different foreskin.
Anyway, I'm going back. To
Every
Gloria.
puppet has a turtleneck.
Yeah, so they say that Kevin Hart does, and Scott Shell says, wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn up crazily? Was that supposed to be children's skin?
Sewn up crazy.
I was just sewn up on it, crazy style.
Was that supposed to be children's skin? See? Already
Not
getting
that
into the
kind of skin.
foreskin angle. Who knows?
This goes back to my thesis of you making things like 5 steps further than where like they need to be at any time for the story. You just like dive in.
Mike Painter says, yeah, I think so. Remember his mouth didn't open and close? He just, his jaw just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, why does your mouth move like that? And the skin taker didn't look at the girl, but at the camera and said, to guide your skin.
That would be a bit haunting, if I'm being honest. As
For
a child.
children's television, yeah, to
Yeah.
grind your skin. I'd say so.
Yeah.
Show replies and says, "I'm so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream I had where the opening jingle ended, the show faded in from black, and all the characters were there, but the camera was just cutting to each of their faces, and they were just screaming, and the puppets and marionettes were flailing spastically, just all screaming. The girl was just moaning and crying like she had been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it."
I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. I remember that was an episode.
Sky Show replies and says, no, not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, literally just standing in place, crying and screaming for the whole show.
Maybe I manufactured the memory because you said that, but I swear to God, I remember seeing what you described. It just screamed. Oh God, yes. The little girl, Janice. I remember seeing her shake and the skin taker screaming through his gnashing teeth, his jaws careening so wildly, I thought it would come off its wire hinges. I turned it off and it was the last time I watched. I ready to tell my brother, and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on.
This is a switch bike. This is a switch bike. No, this is a switch bike. In fact, any bike can be a switch bike, and we really mean any bike.
Oops.
All you need is a switch kit. It's lightweight, pocket size, connects to your handlebars, and boosts your ride with electric power. Switch is your bike electric. For the speed, for the hills.
I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her about when I was little in the early 70s, when I was 8 or 9, and if she remembered a kid's show, Candle Cove. She said she was surprised I couldn't remember that, and I asked why. And she said,
Because I used to think it was so strange that you said I'm gonna be.
Sorry, this is typed weird.
Because I used to think it was so strange that you said I'm gonna go watch Candle Cove now, Mum. And then you would tune the TV to static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had a big imagination with your little pirate show.
And dun dun dun.
And there you go, Candle Cove,
So-
the classic.
That's a classic one of children's show, kind of like some It vibes of like kids only experience it. Do you think 1999 was kind of inspired by that? Because when did this? Yeah, it's 2009.
Yes. Okay. So this story comes from so the author of this story was Chris Straub, who, if you're familiar with online horror, is like a legend. He made Local 58 among a bunch of other horror works online. He was one of the first to utilize second generation internet for horror storytelling, in my opinion. He gave birth to analog horror genre as a horror genre and stuff like that. So as soon as he made this story and things like it, a ton of stories spouted off of it. I remember a bunch of people in 1999, the channel's Caledon Local 21, but a bunch of people would tie it into Candle Cove, they both aired on Channel 58
like
or
it's
whatever,
a
right?
same
Stuff
universe
like that.
kind of thing.
Same universe kind of thing. Yeah, even earlier in this story, he says that Channel 58 had Candle Cove on it, and Channel 58 was, the basis for eventually Local 58, the first analog horror story. So, Chris Straub created a lot of modern internet horror culture. And if I remember right, Candle Cove was a set of a bunch of series of stories that all spouted out of the same place.
I mean, it was
the
probably
same idea.
It's probably so influential at the time. I mean, looking at it from there too, 2009, that's got to be some of the reasons that r/no sleep came around, because even the way that it's supposed to be oh, these are posts on the internet, utilizing that kind of that vibe of, oh, these are actual people talking to each other, even though it's in a story format. I wonder what the influence is to even just be oh, this is all supposed to be utilizing Reddit as a horror, place to post a story that feels real and it's more immersive. Even Twitter ARGs, all that kind of shit. It's, it feels like it all stems from this thing. And I do remember now too, there's that show on Shudder. What was that called? Channel Zero.
Channel Zero. Yeah,
We've talked about that briefly too. The first
we
season.
have talked
yeah.
about briefly. The first season is about Candle Cove.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's cool to see the influence just kind of go over. I never finished I think I've watched the first episode. I remember I thought the first episode was kind of cool, but I don't know if the series maybe the viewers might know or listeners might have an idea if the show was any good. Because did you watch Channel Zero at all?
I remember. Okay, so from what I've heard generally mentioned about it online is that like they did good in some places by taking these stories and adapting them, but also some authors felt kind of slighted by how they did it. Didn't think they interpreted it right. Didn't think it was the best
really?
adaptation. Yeah, I remember there was some drama about it. I would like to watch it for myself to know.
Well, you know what'd be fun is to
If we did like a Creep TV for Channel Zero.
if we did a Creep TV for Channel Zero, but we should read the stuff too, and then be like, how do they adapt it? Because like now reading Candle Cove, granted, it's going to be one of those things where they're just like, that's a great premise, and they're probably going to expand. They're just like, let's make a full season arc out of like the kid.
Yeah.
Like it's probably the guys meeting up and being like, do you remember this thing? And then he like, it's kind of like it. You get all the people back together, they come back and they try to figure out what the fuck was going on. Or whatever, but I think is it each season a new creepypasta?
Each season's a new creepypasta. So season 1 is Candle Cove. One of them's No End House, I think,
Really, that'd be kind of fun.
if I'm right. The fourth one is Stairs in the
4
Woods.
seasons. Really?
I'm
Yeah.
a search and rescue officer. Yeah.
Yeah, Butcher's Block. So it's Candle Cove, No End House, Butcher's Block, The Dream Door. Those are the 4 seasons.
I think Dream Door might be No End House. I could be wrong. Hold on. Channel Zero creepypasta.
When they discover a door in the basement, the secret starts. Whatever. Butcher's Blocks. Young woman and her schizophrenic.
Yeah. Okay.
sister
Sorry.
move
No.
to-
Here it is. Season 1's Candle Cove.
Yeah.
Season 2 is No End House.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then season 3 is
then-
Butcher's Block.
Yes.
And then season 4 is the
What,
Dream
the
Door.
Butcher's Block is the one that is. I'm a search and rescue officer, so therefore the Stairs in the Woods. So Butcher's Block is
okay.
the one that uses Stairs in the Woods. Mm-hmm. And the Dream Door is based on the creepypasta The Hidden Door by Charlotte Bywater, which is the only one we haven't read out of the 4 that they adapted.
Oh, so all we would have to do is read that, and I think that'd be a fun deep dive.
Horror space. But yeah, Candle Cove was a classic for a reason.
Shout out
So
to
after
Mad
giving
Lad.
you, like a fresh cheeseburger, so to speak, kind of short, but like does its job well and stuff like that, we're now going to dive you into something else. So I think we should skip ahead to Dead Bart. I think that's a great one.
Dead Bart. Can't wait for this. I fucking hated the Squidward thing. God damn
Oh,
it.
boy.
So this is another peak era. This is a year after Candle Cove. So this is whenever
2010.
this is
early,
definitely
early on.
This is but I will say I love an early creepypasta stuff. Just children writing horror stories. There's something about children that's just so funny. The unfiltered nature of what they think
Just
is
the way
scary
their
and creepy.
brain,
Yeah,
like,
and how they
forms stuff
articulate
out, yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So fascinating.
All right, so with that, Dead Bart. Here we go. Written originally by K.I. Simpson. Could potentially the name
That's a
Simpson
fucking
be
yeah.
a pseudonym? We're
That's
not
a-
sure.
That's
We're
a,
not
that,
so
it
sure,
has
but
to
we'll
be.
see.
If that person was just like, I'm gonna make a Simpsons horror thing, and they didn't even like put 2 and 2 together, that's so fucked.
Okay, so here we go. You know how Fox has a weird way of counting Simpsons episodes? They refuse to count a couple of them, making the amount of episodes inconsistent. The reason for this is a lost episode from season 1.
Okay, already I have no idea what you're talking about. I already don't understand what you mean by. You know how Fox is a weird. It's like no. What do you mean? There's
Well, yeah, well, here-
DVDs. There's tons of
Hunter,
documented sources. Okay.
Hunter. Listen. This is the point. Because if a kid comes along and reads this, they're just going to be like, oh, I guess Fox has a weird way of counting.
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna check,
Oh, yeah.
especially in
that's an old
2010.
person show. That's an old person show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, now you're thinking right. You got to put yourself in the mindset of being
I know.
me,
I'm so okay. I
being
see.
9 years old, scrolling through YouTube and hearing like readings of these stories. And when a narrator with like scary piano music in the background goes, you know how Fox has a weird way of counting shows? I'm like, okay, they do, got it. I get it. Yeah, exactly. Now you're locked in. So keeping that in mind, finding details about this missing episode is difficult. No one who was working on the show at the time likes to talk about it.
BRB!
From what has been pieced together, the lost episode was written entirely by Matt Groening. During production of the first season, Matt started to act strangely. He was very quiet, seemed nervous and morbid. Mentioning this to anyone who was present results in them getting very angry and forbidding you to ever mention it to Matt. The episode's production number was 7G44. The title was Dead Bart. In addition to getting angry, asking anyone who is on the show about this caused them to do everything they can to stop you from directly communicating with Matt Groening. At a fan event, I managed to follow him after he spoke to the crowd, and eventually had a chance to talk to him alone as he was leaving the building. He didn't seem upset that I had followed him, probably expected a typical encounter with an obsessive fan. When I mentioned the lost episode, though, all color drained from his face and he started trembling. When I asked him if he could tell me any details, he sounded like he was on the verge of tears. He grabbed a piece of paper, wrote something on it, and handed it to me. He begged me to never mention the episode again. The piece of paper had a website address on it. I would rather not say what it was, for reasons you'll see in a second. I entered the address into my browser, and I came to a site that was completely black, except for a line of yellow text, a download link. I clicked on it, and a file started downloading. Once the file was downloaded, my computer went crazy. It was the worst virus I'd ever seen. System restored didn't work. The entire computer had to be rebooted. Before doing this, though, I copied the file onto a CD. I tried to open it on my now empty computer, and as I suspected, there was an episode of The Simpsons on it. The episode started off like any other episode, but had very poor quality animation. If you've seen the original animation for Some Enchanted Evening, it was similar, but less stable. The first act was fairly normal, but the way the characters acted was a little off. Homer seemed angrier, Marge seemed depressed, Lisa seemed anxious. Bart seemed to have genuine anger and hatred for his parents.
Homer seemed more angry. He strangles his son every episode in The Simpsons.
He's even more angry.
He's even more angry now.
Hunter, I need you to take this seriously.
Sorry.
You're reading history right now.
That is true.
This is
It's like reading the Declaration of Independence and like giggling.
Yes. This is like scrolling through the Codex Graphicca. Like
Actually-
there's a reference here. Stand upright.
Actually, 1 second. I'm getting ready to have diarrhea. 1 second.
Iconic characters from hit series gather beyond their worlds. Union Arena. Experience the ultimate dream battles. And that's not all. New titles join the battle. Unleash the power of heroes within the cards. Union Arena.
The LG CounterDepth Max refrigerator with zero clearance. Max out your space, max out your style.
Is that real? Hunter just texted me so much. I had a bad tamale yesterday, and it's been buckets of liquid ever since. Must have been a big tamale. I think rotten peppers, maybe, because it's fighting me on its way back out. Had to get chapstick. Gosh, it's disgusting. Feels like Buffalo Wild Wings Blazing Challenge. I'm getting so many play-by-plays. He keeps texting me details of how it's going. I'm tearing up thinking about it. Oh, that's really cool, dude.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, you're good, man.
Okay.
The episode was about the Simpsons going on a plane trip. Near the end of the first act, the plane was taking off. Bart was fooling around, as you'd expect. However, as the plane was about 50 feet off the ground, Bart broke a window on the plane and was sucked out. Something funny, Hunter?
That's just funny. I like the idea of like, it was about 50 feet off the ground. Bart broke a window. He just like punched out a fucking window and got sucked out of the plane.
The pressure difference wouldn't be enough at 50 feet. You would just
50 feet
just be
is
like a broken
so
window.
close to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, planes are at 50 feet above ground for like a millisecond. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're going fast, but I don't think you would just get immediately sucked out of the window.
No, because
Also, how
it's the same
small-
pressure. It's
small-
the same pressure in the plane and out, so no, there wouldn't be any like pull either way. I mean, speed, it'd be like a car that's going fast and like there's wind outside, but wouldn't be a pressure difference. At the beginning of the series, Matt had an idea that the animated style of The Simpsons world represented life, and that death turned things more realistic. This was used in this episode. The picture of Bart's corpse was barely recognizable. It took full advantage of it not having to move and made it almost photorealistic, drawing of his dead body. There we go. There's photorealism, Hunter. It's
Yeah,
back.
I already counted it. I know. And hyper-realistic, photorealism, hyper-realistic, and then like realistic blood. I expect to see all of the...
And similar to what you were saying at the beginning, where it's like, no, he didn't. That idea of like, Matt had an idea that the animation would represent life and that
Yeah,
death
well,
turned things more realistic.
but
Like,
see-
what are you talking about?
Yeah, but once you unveiled the idea, though, that people are just like, yeah, you have to be like, put yourself in the mind of a kid being like,
Sure.
he really did think like that, didn't he?
Yeah. I've never seen The Simpsons, but I get it. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. I also really like animated and almost photorealistic drawing of his dead body, and it's like Bart is a like super round bulbous yellow man with no hair and just spikes on his head. And it's like, look how real he looks.
Wow. It's like I'm there.
Damn.
Act 1 ended with the shot of Bart's corpse. When Act 2 started, Homer, Marge, and Lisa were sitting at their table, crying. The crying went on, got more pained, sounded more realistic, better acting than you would think possible. The animation started to decay even more as they cried, and you could hear murmuring in the background. This crying went on for all of Act 2. Act 3 opened with the title card saying 1 year had passed. Homer, Marge, and Lisa were skeletally thin and still sitting at the table. There was no sign of Maggie or the pets. They decided to visit Bart's grave. Springfield was completely deserted, and as they walked to the cemetery, the house became more and more decrepit. They all looked abandoned. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just lying in front of his tombstone, looking just like it did at the end of Act 1. The family started crying again. Eventually, they stopped and just stared at Bart's body. The camera zoomed in on Homer's face. According to summaries, Homer tells a joke at this part, but it isn't audible in the version I saw. You can't tell what Homer is saying. The view zoomed out as the episode came to a close. The tombstones in the background had the names of every Simpsons guest star on them. Some that no one had heard of in 1989, some that haven't been on the show yet. All of them had death dates on them. For guests who died since, like Michael Jackson and George Harrison, the dates were when they would die. You could try to use the tombstone to predict the death of living Simpsons guest stars, but there's something odd about most of the ones who haven't died yet. all their deaths are listed as the same date.
I use SketchUp as my primary design visualization software for my business. With SketchUp Pro, building a 3D model with unique textures and finishes customized to the client's vision is possible.
Getting an education might look different than it used to, but the power of a degree is still something no one can ever take away. Sophia offers 70-plus college-level courses, all online and self-paced for just $99 a month. It's easier than ever to further your education and achieve your goals.
Dun dun dun.
And that's the end of Dead Bart. That was really lame.
Yeah.
Those-
You loved it. You loved it.
That was pretty
Stuff
lame.
like all the summaries of it say there's a joke. Like what summaries? I thought you had a virus to like download this on a piece of paper that Matt Groening handed
No,
you. Also, the implication that there's going to be a mass extinction event that kills everyone that you can
I
tell
will
because
say-
if you go to the Simpsons episode, you can. Look
I
forward
will
to it.
say that was a fun twist. I did not expect.
It's a
I
fun
thought
twist,
I
yeah.
thought that it was just going to be like, I got really scared and turned it off. Instead, it's at least it went the angle of being like, yeah, everyone dies the same day. A meteor. That'd be so funny though.
Yep.
Also, this does play into the idea that the Simpsons predict the future, like that meme.
Of course.
So
Yep.
you know what? Actually, more brownie points. Not bad.
Yeah.
Way
It's
better
fun.
than Ben Drown. Way better than Ben Drown. I'll say that.
Ben Drown was good until it got to the text part. I liked the part of Ben Drown that was like, I found the game from this old man. It's my kid. We are now on to Gateway of the Mind. Are you ready for this one?
Gateway of the Mind.
This was actually one of my favorites when I was a kid. When I read this one, this was like one of my top. I loved this one a lot.
Written
this was very
by-
important to me. So
Written by an anonymous author. I don't even want to
I-
tell you
so-
who I am.
I need you to take this seriously, Hunter.
I am.
Because this meant a lot to me. This is a very important story to me, Hunter. Okay.
Yep.
All right. In 1983, a team of deeply pious scientists conducted a radical experiment in an undisclosed facility.
I like that.
Pious, radical, undisclosed, like the three.
We have Webster's dictionary here writing the story. I'm very excited.
They're on lock, dude. This was revolutionary. If you read like Dead Bart and Jeff the Killer, then you get all three of those adjectives
Yeah, in
in
the
like
fir-
your
yeah.
opening sentence. It's like, whoa! Did a professor
Yeah,
write
this guy,
this?
he's a scholar.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is an A+ student for sure.
The scientists had theorized that a human without access to any senses or ways to perceive stimuli would be able to perceive the presence of God. They believed that the five senses clouded our awareness of eternity, and without them, a human could actually establish contact with God by thought. An elderly man who claimed to have nothing left to live for was the only test subject to volunteer. To purge him of all his senses, the scientists performed a complex operation in which every sensory nerve connection to the brain was surgically severed. Although the test subject retained full muscular function, he could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. With no possible way to communicate with or even sense the outside world, he was alone with his thoughts. Scientists monitored him as he spoke aloud about his state of mind in jumbled, slurred sentences that he couldn't even hear. After 4 days, the man claimed to be hearing hushed, unintelligible voices in his head. Assuming it was an onset of psychosis, the scientists paid little attention to the man's concerns. 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear his dead wife speaking with him. And even more, he could communicate back. The scientists were intrigued, but were not convinced until the subject started naming dead relatives of the scientists. He repeated personal information to the scientists that only their dead spouses and parents would have known. At this point, a sizable portion of scientists left the study. After a week of conversing with the deceased through his thoughts, the subject became distressed, saying the voices were overwhelming. In every waking moment, his consciousness was bombarded by hundreds of voices that refused to leave him alone. He frequently threw himself against the wall, trying to elicit a pain response. He begged the scientists for sedatives so he could escape the voices by sleeping. This tactic worked for 3 days, until he started having severe night terrors. The subject repeatedly said that he could see and hear the deceased in his dreams. Only a day later, the subject began to scream and clawed his non-functional eyes, hoping to sense something in the physical world. The hysterical subject now said the voices of the dead were deafening and hostile, speaking of hell and the end of the world. At one point, he yelled,
"No heaven! No forgiveness!"
for 5 hours straight. He continually begged to be killed. The scientists were convinced that he was close to establishing contact with God. Don't laugh, Hunter, don't laugh. This is serious.
Speaking of hell, dude, he's right by God. He's so close. You're
Hunter,
almost
this
there,
is
buddy.
serious.
He's like,
This is funny,
Demon! Demon! Hellfire! And they're just like, he's right at heaven's doorstep right now, guys. Just give him a couple more days.
Look, God, like he's like, look, I know.
Take me out!
The scientist is standing in front of the glass, like, I know this looks bad, but hypothetically, like, we all think a devil. What's the opposite of the devil? God, right? Boom.
Yeah,
he's
gotta be right
almost there.
Gotta be right
close.
there.
Has to be close. After another day, the subject could no longer form coherent sentences. Seemingly mad, he started to bite off chunks of flesh from his arm. The scientists rushed into the test chamber and restrained him to a table so he could not kill himself. After a few hours of being tied down, the subject halted his struggling and screaming. He stared blankly at the ceiling as teardrops silently streaked across his face. For 2 weeks, the subject had to be manually rehydrated due to the constant crying. Eventually, he turned his head, and despite his blindness, made focused eye contact with the scientist for the first time in the study. He whispered,
I have spoken with God, and he has abandoned us.
and his vital signs stopped. There was no apparent cause of death. The end.
Chest, feet, and even down there. That's care everywhere, everywhere.
Tax Act is designed to help you get your taxes done. Let's get them over with.
Why not? It's so funny.
One thing I like about this is there was no apparent signs of cause of death. Wasn't he like ripping out his eyes and biting his flesh off and stuff? We have
Hunter,
no
there
idea.
was no apparent cause of death. There was nothing apparent.
I want to say this though. I want to say this. The idea that this is actually a sick idea. Like the idea of this is really, really cool. It reminds me a lot of Martyrs. If you like, if you think this idea is cool,
So
you
that
should
was
just watch
actually that was actually what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure that this was just like the Martyrs concept. ripped.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the movie came out, which Martyrs, the French version, I think came out in 2008. So maybe they just saw it and they're like, oh, cool. Because it seems like it's a mixture of Martyrs and Russian Sleep Experiment. That's what it feels like to me.
Yes, exactly. That's
In
exactly what it
Martyrs, if you
feels
haven't, if for people who haven't seen Martyrs in the French film, it's all about like a high society where basically like billionaires or whatever will pay to come in and they basically take people and torture them as a martyr because the only people that have ever been, who have contacted to see God is right before you die as a martyr, and you're like basically tortured, basically like Christ-like levels of torture. You're able to like see God, and people are able to like look in your eyes and see like reflections of heaven. It's very odd, but it's an awesome movie. Like it's crazy. So, you know, fucking warning.
Yeah, the idea is if you torture someone enough, they're able to establish a connection with God, or like God will speak to them.
Yeah.
And I really like, is it the remake or the original French one where the lady who's setting it up kills herself at the end because of what the martyr whispers to her?
I think it's the American one. The English one is so not worth watching. Just watch the French one. The English one sucks. It's not worth it. But I like the idea of a guy being, I like also they established that a homeless guy who had nothing left to live for comes in.
Up.
But
Cut
at
me
the same time, you know, I like it's fun, it's short, it's punchy, and you know the whole thing. See God, but really sees he sees hell and all that stuff. To me, that's like fun, schlocky, stuff that happens. I would be curious to see like somebody come in and make this like a full-fledged thing, because you could also get the characters are all there, conflicted scientists who want to do these things, back and forth there. The homeless guy, why does he want to do this?
There was a visual project that was created at the same time. Actually, I think this is it at the end. Yeah, if you scroll all the way down to the end and watch that little YouTube video, that's 2 minutes long. This came out at the same time. So every reading of it you would find online had this video paired with it.
Oh, that's creepy.
It's like someone building clay around their face and then breaking.
Oh, that's creepy.
It's like someone building clay around their face and then breaking
it's that. It's that. That's a French performance artist. I know exactly who this is. He puts clay on his face. That's like his whole thing. He has a great.
Of course, you would know where it is. Of course, you would.
I think whoever showed me this the first time, I'm pretty sure it was James Lee. Showed me this. This guy. Very weird, disturbing stuff. But usually he like puts clay on his face, like takes his thumbs and makes like holes out of it, or, like poke into it.
Yep.
But yeah, this is like I think like a pretty well-known French performance artist. Very cool. Very weird stuff.
The YouTube channel that posted this is the same YouTube channel that posted blankroom.soup or blankroomsoup.avi, which is like a famous early YouTube like scary video that got passed around. And they posted the original Squidward suicide and stuff like that. Yep.
Oh, so they're the OG homies. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they I think that they probably made that black and white, and they put the music behind it. Because usually that guy's stuff is in color. I'm pretty sure, but I'm pretty sure he still does stuff too. So,
dude, okay, so I'm scrolling through this guy's channel who posted it, and we can show this image on screen. When I was a kid, I remember seeing this picture of like a guy who says that there was a demon that appeared behind him in a photograph. I remember seeing this when I was like 10 years old, and I like couldn't sleep for days.
Really?
Yeah, that like face over his shoulder.
Like
it
weird,
freaked me out so bad.
The weird dog face over his shoulder.
That dog, the clearly like it's like a retriever of some kind over his left shoulder. I saw this thing in the corner of every room I walked into for a while.
Rocky Mountain Paranormal Research Society. She's like a guy sitting in his mom's living room.
I imagine that's what most paranormal research societies are.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's where all of them are based out of. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that though. Just I love the whimsy and mysticism of being a youngin. Should we move on?
Let's move on. I think. But yes, Gateway to the Mind was huge for me. I loved this one when I was a kid.
Gateway to the Mind.
Because I didn't know Martyrs or anything like that.
No, it's Candle Cove.
I just liked Candle Cove is the best, but Gateway to the Mind was just such a fun concept that if you shut off all sensory, you can like speak to God.
Yeah. I like that. I like that big, grandiose, cheesy stuff. Yeah, I like the God has abandoned us. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I like that kind of stuff.
Do we read he who should really not be named since it's like 200 words?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so
AKA Candle Jack.
You're not supposed to name him Hunter.
Oh, sorry.
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 Wrong.
Sorry.
Gosh. Okay. Who should really not be named Candle Jack?
I'm super serious.
I'm being serious right now. In this world, there exists a spirit neither male nor female. The spirit is covered with dark cloth, with a separate white cloth to cover its head.
Okay, good.
It is said to carry an enormous brown burlap sack. So there's 3 cloths: a white cloth, a black cloth, and a brown cloth.
The three different colored cloths.
3 cloth. It is said that the second its name has been called out, either directly or indirectly, the person is collected and becomes the property of the spirit. So many who have witnessed its appearance have been said to have gone insane and were later found with their eyes gouged out. The spirit is very, very real. The failure to prevent the mention of its name will cause Candle Jack to come in the school way. I said it at the end because
you should have
said it.
You indirectly said it, and now you're dead. I hope you realize
I'm in the sack. I'm in the sack, and my eyes get pulled out.
You are fucking dead. Hyper-realistic blood is pouring all over you. You are dead.
All over. I'm dead. That's the entire story. What I just read's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing. But see, that's a classic. All right.
One of the top-rated. One of the classic stories listed on creepypasta.com. Yeah.
You know what, though? Once again, way to set up a nice little way to kind of fuck over the reader at the end. I like that.
Well, you got to realize most of these were being read by like 8-year-olds.
Yeah,
right?
dude, that's sick.
Yeah.
To be a kid back then and be like,
yeah.
Candle Jack. Wait, I said it. Yeah. I said it. No, I said it. Mom! That kind of thing would be awesome.
Absolutely. Yep. I remember being so scared by some of these I couldn't sleep. No, like no joke. Not that one specifically that I remember, but one of them. Okay, so We're reading Herobrine.
Herobrine. Oh my god.
That's what we're reading. Me and you. Let's
I
go.
just I clicked
All
it,
right.
and I clicked it, and it's a Minecraft person standing here.
You better believe it. So, Herobrine. You know about Herobrine, right?
I feel like I've heard of it. I just don't. I don't know what it is. I feel like I've heard the name Herobrine.
We'll read the story first, and I'll talk about its impact on stuff. So,
This is not a natural storm that will pass.
I had recently spawned a new world in single-player Minecraft. Everything was normal at first as I began chopping down trees and crafting a workbench. I noticed something move amongst the dense fog. I have a very slow computer, so I have to play with a tiny render distance. I thought it was a cow, so I pursued it, hoping to grab some hides for armor. It wasn't a cow, though. Looking back at me was another character with the default skin, but his eyes were empty. I saw no name pop up, and I double-checked to make sure I wasn't in multiplayer mode. He didn't stay long. He looked at me and quickly ran into the fog. I pursued out of curiosity, but he was gone. I continued on with the game, not sure what to think. As I expanded the world, I saw things that seemed out of place for the random map generator to make. 2x2 tunnels in the rocks, small perfect pyramids made of sand in the ocean, and groves of trees with all their leaves cut off. I would constantly think I saw the other player in the deep fog, but I never got a better look at him. I tried increasing my render distance to far whenever I thought I saw him, but it was to no avail. I saved the map and went on the forums to see if anyone else had found the pseudo player. There were none. I created my own topic telling of the man and asking if anyone had a similar experience. The post was deleted within 5 minutes. I tried again and the topic was deleted even faster. I received a PM from username Herobrine containing one word.
Stop.
When I went to look at Herobrine's profile, the page 404. I received an email from another forum user. He claimed the mods can read the forum user messages, so we were safer using email. The emailer claimed that he had seen the mystery player too, and had a small directory of other users who had seen him as well. Their worlds were littered with obviously man-made features as well, and described their mystery player to have no pupils. About a month passed until I heard from my informant again. Some of the people who had encountered the mystery man had looked into the name Herobrine and found that the name to be frequently used by a Swedish gamer. After some further information gathering, it was revealed to be the brother of Notch, game's developer. I personally emailed Notch and asked him if he had a brother. It took him a while, but he emailed me back a very short message.
I did. He's no longer with us.
I haven't seen the mystery man since our first encounter, and I haven't noticed any changes to the world other than my own. I was able to press print screen when I first saw him. Here's the only evidence of his existence. And then this right here.
Yeah, I see the...
See him down the bottom left.
The original Herobrine post on 4chan by anonymous user. Wow.
So let me tell you how impactful this was. So this was early days of Minecraft 2, like when the game first came out. And this made its way everywhere to the degree that Notch would make jokes about it. Notch would tweet, like, I don't have a brother named Herobrine or whatever. And then he started putting it in the patch notes. Every time there was an update, the final patch note would always read removed Herobrine, as if he was an entity like he couldn't get out of the game. So people would make stories about this. All the early Minecraft animations would feature Herobrine as the enemy. And I can say firsthand how well the story worked, because I had 2 younger sisters, and I was really into Minecraft. My younger sisters liked to play Minecraft with me, and they added a Herobrine skin to the game. So I would turn name tags off in the settings, and then I would put on the Herobrine skin, and I would go stand on hillsides at night. So I remember one time, my 2 sisters, like I saw them, they're just like building a cute little house or whatever. And one of my sisters just like glanced over to the hillside and they stare at me for a second. And then she goes, I hear it through the house before I hear it in the game. Just backing up. And my other sister's like starting to cry like, what is it?
So let me ask you this. So it's obviously a ghost of the game, right? It's like a ghost of Notch's dead brother.
The idea is Notch's dead brother died and you can't live in the game. Yeah.
So, but he doesn't really do anything. Was it just because, it's creepy?
Here's what you got to realize with a lot of these early creepypasta stories. It is a blueprint, right? So it's like, here's the premise, do with it what you want.
So this is like more so people took this story and they just started making a tons of scary shit.
It's like the hook-handed man. It's so you can tell friends at a campfire and like freak them out with a prank or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I once again, it's awesome to see how these things formulate. But I bet you anything there was tons. I have to imagine there was tons and tons of people's like videos and stuff, or like people who like would write their own and be like, yeah, I saw him and he killed my dog, or you know what I mean?
It was a whole genre of early Minecraft YouTuber to be like Herobrine hunting, where it would be like these 5-hour series of them going through Minecraft and being like, this tree looks like it's been chopped down before. Like, and we put together clues to see if we can find Herobrine in our game. And whenever Minecraft modding got to be popular, that's when it really took off. Because people would program these entities that have like a 1% chance of spawning that look like Herobrine. So then people would make legitimate Herobrine hunting videos where maybe at the end of the 5 hours, they do see him for a second and then he disappears.
And they're like, whoa!
Yeah, it became like a whole genre of like gaming horror on YouTube and stuff like that, and which is kind of making a resurgence. I've seen a lot of really cool Minecraft horror mods lately that do similar things to that, but Herobrine was a classic.
I was gonna say the newest one feels like that feels comparable to that is like all the backroom stuff, all the backroom games that came out.
Very
like,
similar,
different
similar.
like liberal horror stuff that got of the big thing with the kid angles. I was like, oh, this is definitely starting to get into like the kid territory. It'd be like
I love seeing
large,
the minions
creepy
just rush out of the
thing, and then all of
fucking
a sudden
fire
it'd be like giant slides and like
as they're
pools.
being born.
And that's why I was like, oh, that's when that's how we're in the thick of the children era of it now. Big, colorful, weird, uncanny, like maybe there's like a playground area.
Kids.
Yeah, exactly. Poppy's playtime area.
But
Herobrine
Herobrine was
I got
like
to experience
early
it.
on. Yeah, so that was the original 4chan post, and then from there it blew up. It went everywhere. It became like a recurring theme. And people would use it to prank each other with.
Damn, I followed up twice
I will
now.
say that when I first read about this story, there was an undeniable creep factor to it, because Minecraft has a lot of randomly generated structures. So like you'll be digging deep underground and come across an abandoned mine shaft all of a sudden. And like as a kid, I would always do that and like halfway through be like, is there actually something in the game? Is Herobrine?
Okay, run back out there.
It's like, okay, well, I guess that's funny. Someone come play with me. Yeah. So it worked for what it was, but it was very simplistic to begin with, of course. But that's all it needed to be, just a blueprint.
Yeah.
So there's Herobrine. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. The Hooded Man sounds familiar, but I don't remember. It's only 5 minutes. We could read it.
2016, we gotta read it. It's one of the top ones, The Hooded Man.
It is one of the top ones.
And it's written by anonymous author. So that's another
man, how could we miss out on that? Okay. All right, so Hoodie, the Hooded Man.
This is gonna sound odd, but
unicorns are real, and I don't think we're supposed to be here.
Have you ever been influenced by clothing? I don't mean confidence by looks. Have you ever been given more control than ever by an item, or a truth, or just a favorite shirt? Have you ever been influenced in the worst way, by showing the truth? The following is taken directly from journal entries. Just a journal. Just like the entries were written by a notorious but unknown killer. Notorious but unknown. He is notorious in the means that everybody has seen his work. He is unknown because nobody knows that he has done it. His origin is unusual. No troubles, no evil family, no magic or paranormal forces. His life was chosen by him and him alone. His identity is also unknown. He will be named from here on as the Hooded Man.
Hell yeah. Hell yes.
April 3rd, 2004.
He
It's
says,
been
I am
really
here
cold
for it.
I don't. How do we set up a man who needs to put on a hoodie? Man, it's so cold. I wish I had a hoodie.
It's been really cold around here. Fuck, I wish I have no articles of clothing. Why are my arms always
hoodie.
exposed to the elements?
If only there was a way. It's been really cold around here. I don't have anything really to cover myself. All I have are my t-shirts and jeans. So today I decided to get a jacket. The kind of things you would journal about.
Sure.
I was just in a local
Sure.
store. Nothing special. It's a black hoodie with a white lining. I think it looks pretty cool. And when I tried it on, the attendant said, "It suits me fine." I said thanks to be polite. Common courtesy is so hard to find.
Oh god, dude, fuck off. This is like some serious like common courtesy is so hard to find. Yeah, I bought a black hoodie.
What's his David King. It's the David King voice.
Yeah, David King.
Common courtesy is so hard to find.
Can you read this next one in the voice? The next paragraph.
So I bought it. I haven't taken it off yet. Not only is it warm, but I can really see myself doing amazing things in it.
What is that? What do you mean? What do you mean?
When I look in the mirror, I smirk. I feel amazing.
When I look in the mirror, he just does.
Not bad, not bad.
I can't really explain it, but I like it. I really like it. I feel the need to put my hood up. Something about the hood has a way of masking a person, even though it shows their face and hides something somewhere.
It's true.
Somewhere. It's really late right now. I've been feeling so great all day. Time flew around me. I'll have to explain more tomorrow.
All right, so
Beautiful.
I love that this first entry is a guy being like, "I'm cold. I'm gonna go to a random store, like probably a Walmart," and he's just like,
Yeah.
I feel like I want to kill somebody." Because that's 100% where it's going.
The hood, the jacket's telling me to kill people.
I have to kill someone now. April 10th. I've had a hell of a week. I felt so great. I walked the halls like a big shot. I like how it's just understood that he's in school. Like he is middle school.
Well, yeah, exactly.
He's like, whoever's reading this is also 13 years old.
Of course, of course. I'm sure I looked smug. That's why Jack challenged me. He was so angry.
Yes.
All of these early stories were like, I'm the kid who gets picked on, but now I'm
love
a
it.
serial killer who's hot
That's what
and
Jack,
sexy
that
and wears
fucking
dark
idiot.
clothes.
The
This is
fucking
also in
idiot
the
Jack.
same area of like early like scene emo kids, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it
Well,
all
no,
kind of loops in
2016.
together,
This is like the 4chan or Red Pillar probably.
Jack and
This is when it started out. This is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
start of it. Most of this stuff though, like Jeff the Killer, Laughing Jack,
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that
yeah.
was like 2010,
Scene.
2011.
Yeah, scene era
era.
shit.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Not everyone's life runs in straight lines. At Sophia, we get that. Our flexible, affordable, self-paced college-level courses help thousands of people just like you complete their degrees for only $99 a month.
As an architect, I have found that SketchUp is by far the best tool to quickly generate visual communication imagery in the design phase for both internal and external audiences.
He was so angry. Who never do ignoring an insult was more insulting than responding with shrewd comments about someone's family. He antagonized me. He asked for it. He threw a hard punch, and I stood. It stung harder than before when I actually argued with him. I felt so cool all week. Wait, is all that happened? He got
punched in the face. He got punched in the face by a guy. He took it, and he's just like, "Yeah, it barely hurt." He walked off.
he didn't even fight back.
Yeah, so now he's like,
I felt cool all week.
My confidence kept me up. I punched him hard in the stomach, and I lifted him up with an underhook. It felt so good. It really did. Parents calling. April 14th. Jack still isn't out of the hospital.
He punched the guy so hard, he's like, all of his organs are failing.
It was like, well, he said he lifted him off the ground, so it was like you're like Dragon Ball, like
Dragon Ball Z fucking
yeah,
punch,
yeah. Like you can see the fist go through his back as he punches him.
Yeah. Oh my God, Kakarot, you hit him way too hard.
I didn't mean to, Vegeta. I just, come on. I don't know.
That's my Goku voice.
I don't know, Vegeta. I didn't mean to hit him that hard.
Kakarot, your voice sounds identical to what it's normal. Never mind.
That's
your voice is
actually.
totally. It sounds more
Kakarot, there's
perfect
nothing weird with it. With all, there's
Yeah,
nothing
gotcha.
weird about it at all.
I feel like you actually sound a little better today.
Yeah, thanks. I'm so hungry. I'm gonna eat a big bowl of food. I gotta train.
All right. That sounds good, Kakarot.
Okay, thank you for telling me that, Kakarot.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I gotta go to King Kai's place and eat.
I mean, do that.
I hope that monkey doesn't chase me around because I'm hungry. I gotta eat a big ol'. I'm gonna eat 40 bowls of ramen. Cause I have an unquenchable appetite.
Cool. that's all Vegeta says.
Cool.
That sounds pretty pog, actually, Kakarot. So why don't you go ahead and just do that?
I'm gonna go sleep with Bulma now.
Yeah, I'm going to have sex with Bulma.
Okay.
Gross.
Yeah.
Cool. Why don't you just train instead?
I mean, that sounds fine, but I don't know. I feel like I need some distance from you, Kakarot.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know where I'm going with this.
I'm just letting you have fun with that one. Jack still isn't out of the hospital. They said he's in a lot of pain.
After all that, Jack's still not out of the
His parents
hospital.
told me over the phone. I reflected on it, on how great it felt when my fist connected, how his cracked scream sounded.
That's good to hear.
I said blankly, I don't care about Jack. I smiled at his pain. I keep staring. I keep staring at my mirror. I'm always wearing my favorite hoodie. It feels so empowering. My friends would laugh at what I say. They would compare me to Spider-Man in his black suit.
Yeah, pretty much Venom.
Spider-Man,
It's the symbiote. Yes, the symbiote is taken over me.
Yeah, from Spider-Man issue 274.
I have a bit of a darker side.
I'm almost like fucking Capote or Droopy at this point.
You are getting.
I pretty much should just talk like this.
Well, well, it's somewhere between Droopy and like
Where
Sadie
is
Griffin.
Yeah,
The voice.
my black suit, I feel so much more powerful.
Well, what makes it droopy is like you had like the bleh, you had like the big cheekness to it.
Yes, that's what I mean. I have to do this, and I have my black suit.
There's droopy.
And I have quite a bit of things I have to do with my black suit on.
It's funny to imagine this emo kid is like a Looney Tunes character walking around a high
I'm a
school.
severely overweight teenager, and I have my black suit on now, and everyone thinks I'm so evil.
This is going to be the rest of the Hooded Man's voice, by the way.
This feels so much better.
Okay, all right. They would compare me to Spider-Man in his black suit. Spider-Man threw his power away. I don't plan on doing anything with my source of confidence. April 22nd.
Jack has gone to a better place.
The words rang through my ears. He's dead. Lost too much blood.
He said lost too much blood. He punched him so hard that they're like, his body will not retain blood in the hospital. Go in the hospital?
What?
He's been in the hospital for 2 weeks.
Yeah. And they couldn't do it. He was bleeding too much.
He is like bleeding for 2 weeks straight.
This fat kid punched him so hard in the stomach that it
what do you expect
bleed.
from such a powerful individual with such a stylish jacket? The only thing I can do is wear my jackets and not punch people.
Oh.
The Honorable Podium Series, engineered for exceptional results.
His father told me the day I visited that he was losing blood due to a personal health condition. But the way his mother looked at me and told me the real story, I killed him.
I did.
I still remember the satisfaction of hitting him. I never wanted to kill him. I need to think about what I've done, right? That'll fix my feelings. But what is there to think about? Regret is a foolish emotion. I don't regret. I don't need regret.
Regret is a foolish
emotion.
I don't need regret. What I need is a good jacket. Cover my butt.
This is great to imagine that he becomes a serial killer that punches people.
If he
Like that's
is
the way he kills
only
them.
if he is only a serial killer that punches people, this very well may be a better premise than Jeff the Killer. Dare I say?
Honestly, yes, but that's a low bar to like get over.
Yeah, but that the leg. I'm just saying, like the legacy edge.
Oh yeah, of the the hoodie punch man. One punch man.
The
One punch man, yeah.
American Apparel hoodie punch man.
Yeah.
My dad.
Actually, you know what I like to think? I like to think that he went to Buckle, and it's one of those ones that had like it was like an affliction one. It had like a giant bejeweled cross on it, and he's like,
I feel so powerful.
The bejeweled cross is good, but what it really needs to be. You remember the Rockstar Energy merch everyone wore for a while?
Yeah,
with the DC shoes. It's like that. It's got the giant Rockstar star like
it's
tilted
either Rockstar or
it.
it's any snowboarding or motocross shirt from PacSun.
Yes.
And he's like,
yes.
Yes, I've never ridden a motorcycle, but I
What was that one
fancy
motocross brand everyone would wear?
Fox.
Like they never. Yes, Fox. Yep. It's a
100%
Fox.
Fox.
It's a
Yeah, it's
black
a Fox.
Fox.
It's a Fox hoodie. I'm actually I'm afraid to. I can't ride a bicycle, so I'm afraid to ride a dirt bike. But I would like to.
Yep, you got it. April 24th. Dad has been avoiding me lately. And Mom just tells me she loves me. Baby,
love you. I love you.
Where's Dad?
I love you, son.
Yeah.
He comes into rooms floating, like just like pounding his fist into his hand, like where's Dad?
Where's Dad? I have a sandwich I want to give him.
I like to think that this character, he walks in and his hands are underneath. He has his hands are in between two pieces of bread.
Is Dad hungry? I have a sandwich I'd like to give him.
Oh. They both want me to feel endless guilt, but I won't, or rather, I can't.
Oh, God.
I can't fake it for the public, but the truth is, I'm not sorry. Spider-Man's story is starting to make me think more. But why would a cursed or possessed hoodie land in my possession? Everybody who knew Jack glares at me. Everyone who I would talk to have transferred themselves out of my class or went to a different school. Teachers don't look at me much. Get on to me if I'm breaking any rule. Today I threw a pencil at my history teacher. It hit his shoulder. He just froze for a second and continued what he was doing. Everyone either hates me and probably wants me dead, or they fear me. My writing is the only comfort I have. I can be at peace and let myself go. April 25th. They provoked me. They threatened me. I had no choice. They would have killed me. My hood protected my face. The knife naturally moved from Rob's hand to mine. I didn't mean to. The writing was a short line at this point. April 30th. 5 days. 5 days being interrogated, sleeping in a cell. They decided I was only defending myself. I can hear Mom and Dad talking. They want me gone. They're both scared. I was an idiot to think that this jacket of mine was possessing me or changing my personality. It's just a really cool jacket. I love how it looks. I feel like such a badass. I remember how I put the hood up. Put it up when Jack challenged me. I put it up when those guys tried to kill me. I feel no remorse. I feel indifferent. I'm in control. I have finally come to realize insanity. I wanted to kill them, all of them. I needed only a push and the confidence to fight. I got it. Mom and Dad are irritating me. They all irritated me.
The end. So you know what's funny about this? I just want to say this immediately. This is extreme, and not to make a lot of it, this is extreme school shooter vibes.
Of course, yeah. That's 100%. Yeah.
And it's like,
I wish
it's
he
one of those-
punched people. I wish. He
Yeah,
punched people.
I wish that he just punched more people. Also, it's funny too to think that like the cops like would let him just wear the jacket in his cell.
Well, it is just a jacket, right? Like
Well,
just
it is, but
arrested him
usually
just
if you
by
get
the
moved in, they have you like you'll take off your personal possessions and they'll keep it, and then they give you like a uniform or whatever. If I think if you're staying there overnight for multiple days, I could be wrong, but yeah, this idea, which I want to say this, I'd say if people are feeling, because this feels like somebody who's like, everybody in my life is wronging me, whatever. Maybe just write a fun story instead of doing something crazy. I also think we need to have a new arc of this kind of character. The badass, like the misunderstood badass kid who's just like, you shouldn't have provoked me. This story is lost because it's so, you know, wrapped in people are like it's cheesy and stupid. I say bring it back, dude. Bring it back, please.
Meet Asana, a work management platform that helps companies get more done and save more time. Teams can stay connected while they track updates and visualize timelines. Asana, a smarter way to work. Try it for free today at asana.com.
Yep, I agree. I personally love this. I don't see anything wrong with it. 10 out of 10. One of the best stories we've read on Creepcast, in my opinion.
The idea too that it wasn't even the jacket; it was him putting his hood up. It was literally a guy going to a American Eagle store, buying a $20 zip-up hoodie, and he's like, "Holy fuck!" When he puts up his hood, he's like, "People could kind of see me, but not really." He's like the guy in Grandma's Boy, when he's like pressed up against the wall, the black wall, and he has his leather jacket on, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "How could he see me?" That moment, he reminds me of JP.
I also like that part where it's like, this story you're about to read is of a dark one whose work is known everywhere, and we never get an explanation of that. He's just like a really mad kid who's about to kill his parents.
I also just like the kid bleeding profusely for 2 weeks. They just and then
Just
also
bleeding.
and he was bleeding for personal issues. What was that? Yeah, it was. He was bleeding. The conditions were personal issues. It's like, do you mean when you punched him and you destroyed every organ in his body? Was it that? Was it that personal issue?
This is a banger. I love it. I don't know what you're talking about.
That by far today my favorite story we've read, easily.
Of course.
Most entertaining. I'll say that.
All right, so we are now on. Let's go to Ickbar Bigglestein.
Ickbar Bigglestein.
So I don't remember this one. I remember hearing of this story, but I don't think I ever read it.
It's another short banger. Let's do it.
Banger. 2012. Let's go. When I was a small child, I was terrified of the dark. I still am. Back when I was around 6 years old, I couldn't go a full night without crying out for one of my parents to search beneath my bed or in my closet for whatever monster I thought was waiting to eat me. Even with a nightlight, I could still see dark shapes moving around the corners of the room, or strange faces looking in on me from my bedroom window. My parents would do their best to console me, telling me that it was just a bad dream or a trick of the light. But in my young mind, I was positive that the second I fell asleep, the bad things would get me. Most of the time, I would just hide under the blankets until I became tired enough to stop worrying. But every now and then, I would become so panicked that I would run screaming into my parents' room, waking up my brother and sister in the process. After an ordeal like that, there would be no way anyone would be getting a full night's rest. Eventually, after one particularly traumatizing night, my parents had had enough. Fortunately for them, they understood the futility in arguing with the 6-year-old and knew that they would be unable to convince me to rid myself of childish fears through reason and logic. They had to be clever. It was my mother's idea to stitch together my little bedtime friend. She collected a large assortment of random pieces of fabric in her sewing machine and created what I would later refer to as Mr. Ickbar Bigglestein, or Ick for short. Ick was a sock monster, as my mother called him. He was made to keep me safe while I slept at night by scaring away all the other monsters. He was pretty damn creepy, I had to admit. Honestly, looking back on it all now, I'm still impressed that my mom could think of something so strange and disturbing looking. Ikbar had the stitched together look of a Frankenstein gremlin with big white button eyes and floppy cat ears.
What the fuck is wrong with my mom?
He's like, here you go, sweetheart. Have fun with Ikbar. Schmickelstein. He's like, okay, thanks. It's Bigglestein, okay.
His little arms and legs were made from a pair of my sister's black and white striped socks, and the half of his face that was green was made from one of my brother's tall football socks. His head could have been described as bulbous, and for his mouth, my mom attached a piece of white fabric and sewed it a zigzag pattern to shape a wide grin of sharp teeth. I loved him at once. From then on, Ick never left my side, as long as it was after dusk, of course. Ick didn't like the sun, and would get upset if I tried to bring him to school with me. That was okay. I only needed him at night to keep away the boogeymen, which was what he was good at. So every night at bedtime, Ick would tell me where the monsters were hiding, and I would place him near the section of my room closest to the spookiness.
Oh, okay.
If there was something in the closet, Ick would block the door. If there was a dark creature scratching at my window, it would be pressed up against the glass. If there was a big hairy beast under my bed, then under the bed he went. Sometimes the monsters weren't even in my room. Sometimes they would hide in my dreams. Ikbar would have to come with me into my nightmares. It was fun bringing Ick into my dream world, and he and I would spend hours fighting off ghouls and demons. The best part was, in my dreams, Ick would talk to me for real.
Whatever you do it for less. At Harbor Freight.
Ok, ¿listo para evitar hablar del salario?
How much do you love me?
He would ask.
More.
Hey, Lily. Everything's going. Hey, Lily. Everything's been going good. I appreciate the follow. You kind of came in at the last minute because we were actually closing down for right now. Well, we will be back on here in probably around 4 hours from now. So we hope to catch you then. All right. You have a blessed day. Thanks again for the follow.